Okay, so now that we've covered our rules, oops, I forgot one. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some situations with regards to simplifying expressions with exponents. All right, so the idea, you'll hear me say this a lot, is we're going to see a rule and we're going to use a rule. And of course, you guys are working from home. The best way that you can help me is you can verbally say, off to the side, or just let me see you actually use the rule. And hopefully I'll mimic that. So just do as I do. And what's unique about this, though, is that sometimes you guys as students might see a rule to use first as opposed to what I see. And that's actually okay. As a matter of fact, a couple of times, maybe, I don't think in this handout, but in the next one, I'll actually redo a problem maybe 2 or 3 times because it differs on what you see. So at any rate, let's get to work. So for number 1, right, I'm throwing a trick at you. I've got a big product here. I'm multiplying x, right, to the first power technically, x squared and x to the third. Well, this is one giant product, and notice that the bases are all the same. So to simplify this, I can keep that base, and I can add all my exponents. So again, there's the work being shown, telling me that you see, right, the product rule. All right, so please show me that step. Of course, adding up all my exponents, 1 plus 2 plus 3 gives us a simplified expression of x to the 6th. All right, so that's how we would do that one. So we only really needed the product rule to see in that one, and the trick is there's actually the product rule a couple times, not just once. All right, so number 2, taking a look at this next expression, there's lots of different ways we can see this, but the first thing I see is up in the numerator, I have an opportunity again to use the product rule. So if I use that, all right, we get 4, we'll keep the base and add up my exponents. Again, I want to see that step. That tells me you saw the rule and you're using the rule correctly. And then, of course, we get x to the 10th over x to the 3rd. All right, and then now what I have an opportunity to do is to use the quotient rule because I'm dividing by the same base. So we're going to keep that base and take the top exponent and minus the bottom exponent. Again, that step that I'm showing is telling me and telling you, here's the rule that I'm using. I see it, I'm using it. So please show me that rule. And then, of course, there's our final answer in this case. We get x to the 7th. So that one was a little tough because there were 2 rules involved to start that one off. Number 3. All right, now not only do I have a bunch of exponents, but I also have different variables. And the first thing to probably see about this is we're actually looking at 2 different fractions. All right, let me rewrite this as x to the 8th over x to the 3rd multiplied to y to the 7th, y to the 4th. So now I'm not really using any laws of exponents here. What I'm using is what it means to multiply 2 fractions. And so what I'm basically doing is rewriting this expression into the product of 2 fractions. That's good news for me because now I have the opportunity to use the quotient rule for this fraction that involves x and for this fraction that involves y. So see a rule, use a rule. So over here, we're going to keep the base x and top exponent minus bottom. Here, if you want to say we're multiplying y, right? We have 7 minus 4. So I saw an opportunity to use the quotient rule twice. Simplifying this, we get x to the 5th and y to the 3rd, and there would be your simplified answer for that expression. So again, please show me that step. It's telling me 2 things again. You're seeing the rule and you know how to apply it correctly. Alrighty? So moving right along, number 4. If you take a look at number 4, as far as numbers are concerned, it's a little bit like 3. There's essentially 2 fractions here. One of them is 2 over 6, and the other is x to the 7th and x to the 5th. So this one, we basically simplify using our old fraction simplification ideas. 2 goes into both, so 2 goes into there once and there 3 times, so I'm basically left with 1/3. Here, we have an opportunity again to use my quotient rule. So I've got x, right? I'm going to keep the base and take my top exponent and minus the bottom. So when we clean that up, we get 1/3 x squared. All right, and so there's basically how that expression simplifies using our rules. Alrighty, going to the next one, there's some parentheses involved, right? But be careful, don't think this, right? Yeah, there's parentheses involved in this, but it has to be a power of a product or a power of a quotient. And right now, right, I have a power to a sum, another power to a sum, and another power of sum, that they just happen to be involved in a quotient. So that doesn't apply. That's that crazy mistake I see students make. So be careful. But what does apply, if you look at the bottom, I see an opportunity to use my product rule because I have the same base and I'm multiplying. So my first step would probably look like this. We're going to leave the numerator alone, and on the denominator we have x plus 3, and I see the product rule, so I'm going to add my exponents. So we get x plus 3 to the 10th upstairs and x plus 3 to the 6th downstairs. And now what I see is I'm dividing same base, so that's an opportunity to use my quotient rule. So we're going to keep the base and take my top exponent and subtract the bottom. And so we end up with x plus 3 all raised to the 4th power. Alright, so very good. Okay, number 6, pretty common. As a matter of fact, as you guys look at it, you probably already have the answer in your head. But I'm going to slow you down a little bit because remember, I want to be able to see that you saw the rule and you used the rule. So that's, again, showing your work. So when I'm looking at number 6, right, you're kind of seeing, hey, I'm taking an exponent of an exponent. I want to multiply my exponent. So you're correct. We're seeing that rule. But before we can even get there, there's that guy, right? What I have inside of here is a product, right? I have the factor a squared and the factor b cubed, and I'm raising it to the 4th power. So I actually have to use that first. So this would look like a squared to the 4th and b third to the 4th, right? So each factor gets hit by that power. So the factor a squared gets raised to the 4th power, and the factor b cubed gets raised to the 4th power. Now I have the power of a power, right? So what happens when we take an exponent of an exponent? We multiply the exponents. We do it in both cases. So again, please show me those steps because that's telling me again you're seeing the rule and you're applying it correctly. We finally get a to the 8th and b to the 12th. All right, and that's probably the answer a lot of you had in your head, and that's great. If you were a Math 150 class, I'd probably let you guys slide. But this is a skill we're learning. We're trying to learn these rules, and so you're going to demonstrate that you see the rule and you use the rule by showing me your work. Okay, so that's round 1. I have another round of expressions that we need to simplify using our rules, and so I'll see you in the next video because this one's already almost 8 minutes long. So more expressions coming up in a moment. See you guys in the next video.